Hi, everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek. We're back today to talk about a very fun book that we just finished today, Star Trek Voyager Gateways, Book 5 of 7, No Man's Land, by Christie Golden. This book is, of course, the Voyager installment in the Gateways saga that I've been reading here. So far, they've all been pretty good, and they've all kind of followed a similar formula. And this one definitely does jump off of that formula. And it kind of takes the idea of the gateways and uses that to introduce the story element. But they're not like the main kind of point of the book, as the other parts of the saga were. But that in no way means that it's a lesser part, I would say. It is a fantastic installment into this. And particularly just because of the wide variety of alien species that are included here in just this one book. So, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's reading from the cover here. Janeway must lead a ragtag fleet into deadly danger. And you can see here quite the battle going on there on the cover, with, of course, the gateway there around it. So, Star Trek Voyager. Throughout the galaxy, an ancient network of interstellar portals has been reactivated, instantly linking distant planets and civilizations. Back home in the Alpha Quadrant, Starfleet can devote all its considerable resources to coping with the Gateway crisis. But in the Delta Quadrant, there is only the starship Voyager. Gateways, no man's land. Just as Voyager enters an unusually hazardous region of space, the ship and its crew are confronted with a flood of lost and disoriented starships from all over the galaxy. Accidentally transported incredible distances by unpredictable gateways, the diverse alien castaways regard each other and Voyager with hostility and suspicion. Captain Catherine Janeway suddenly finds herself struggling to hold together an extremely fractious, that's a fun word, fractious fleet of dislocated alien vessels, even as the newly awakened gateways hold open the prospect of finally bringing her ship home. Wow, that's a good back cover. Extremely fractious fleet of dislocated alien vessels. Well done. Whoever wrote that, I'll give you 2 thumbs up. I like that. So anyway, that's what you got here. Voyager's making its way back home. They come across this area of space, and they can tell that it's either basically go through this very dangerous area of space or take a very, very, very long time to go around this. So they decide to go through it, and that is when the gateways go crazy. And interesting enough, like, the activities of the gateways here are very different than kind of, the normal gateways that happen in the other quadrant, where they're kind of a fixed point. They're there and they go, from here to A to B, or maybe a couple of different places. These portals kind of pop up out of nowhere, open and close kind of without any warning, and also all are located and kind of centralized around Voyager. So as Voyager's going through this section of space, all of a sudden, all these portals open up, and all these ships come through, right? So now, and I think maybe we're talking something between 25 to 30 ships, possibly, all of varying sizes, varying technological specifications, and you have this kind of chaotic situation, and that's what you're thrown into initially with the book. So, very interesting, and what's great about doing a book like this, where you're bringing in all these strange species, is you don't have to worry about, making the costumes and doing all that. So you can kind of go crazy when you're talking about and you're describing these people. So if you like something like that, and if you like to have, like, these far out there, non-humanoid even species, this book delivers in that in quite a few different ways. There's an interesting species that actually even the author talks about that she had a good time coming up with, which were basically like a species that had been kind of so coddled all their life by another that took care of them, that just the mere notion of fright or danger could possibly kill them. These are called the Kuluk, and they kind of look like little green teddy bear people, right? And they can be scared to death. So there's other just interesting races and also conflicts that they bring in too, that kind of just add tension and add kind of spice to it. This group of people was wiped out by these people, but then these people say they've changed their ways and that these people are really the bad people. And then you've got these really bad people, the Todonians, and as the name kind of infers, they're basically like toad people. So I was kind of picturing like battle toads, right? But maybe like bigger heads, something like that. But just very interesting. I love the way that they describe how these people, like when they get angry and their sacks inflate there on their necks, like toads do. So again, without getting into too much detail, you have basically how best to describe what it is. It's a journey. You have like a journey book. They're on their way from point A to point B, and then you have all these little bits and pieces that get thrown in along the way. And it finally kind of ends up even being like a murder mystery as you get towards the end. And of course, as with all of these books that are in this series right here, Gateways, I'm looking at you, they all are cliffhangers. You have to wait until you get to the very, very end, and I'm almost there, before you get to read all the endings. So all the endings to all the books are waiting here for me in book 7. So anyway, you have a journey, you have a diverse cast of different alien races, and you have very good characterization too, I would say, on the part of Christie Golden, who just, she knows how to write these Voyager characters. No complaints about how anyone was written. Janeway, particularly well done. Honestly, they couldn't focus too much on like a lot of the cast because there's just so much extra going on in this book. And because of that, maybe you didn't quite get like the direct focus on, more of the cast members. Like I can't remember Harry or Tom doing too much important, but everybody did have a little bit something to do. So, but the main story was with what Janeway was doing to bring the fleet together, and then unraveling the kind of the mystery that comes up at the end too. So, and just a lot of fun along the way. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that one, without ranting and raving about the story. So if you don't want to know too much, you can go on now and watch one of my other videos, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I think that's the first time I've said that in forever, so you better like and subscribe. I'm joking. You don't actually have to do that. If you just watch the video, I'm pretty happy. Anyway, No Man's Land. So anyway, the title of the book, No Man's Land, comes from the area of space that they have to cross here. And it is a tough area of space. 4 asteroid belts, 2 red dwarfs, a singularity, a black hole. Just basically a real mess for navigation and a big problem for everybody, right? And on top of that, as they get to this area of space, now they're met with this fleet of this, ships from all over the quadrant, from all over different quadrants, from who knows where else, maybe different dimensions even. So, and they're all coming together, and of course, as they first come through, everybody is just basically thinking that Voyager had brought them here. So you have this good section of the book that is Janeway doing her diplomatic paces to basically bring all these people together. She's able to convince them that they're all under a kind of a similar problem. I feel like I'm too... There we go. Is that better? That's better. Why didn't I do that earlier? Anyway, she brings them all together. They have a big conference scene where they bring all the captains in of all the ships. And after hours and hours of negotiations, they're able to kind of work out that, it would be in everybody's best interest to work together. And they kind of, they get this fleet together. They form a pattern, and they head off into no man's land. And that's when kind of the little stories start playing out. So, first off, the whole thing starts, the very first gateway incident is when the crew stops for a little bit of R&R, right? And then during that R&R, they notice something in the water, and they run in to save it, and they get it out, and it's basically similar to like a dog. And they bring it back onto the ship, and they can tell that it's like a domesticated animal, and it just kind of popped up out of nowhere, basically. They decide to name it Fluffy / Barkley, which is great. That's a great name, Barkley, for a dog. I love that. And Barkley becomes like the first mystery. Now, where did Barkley come from? And becomes kind of like a cute little, set piece that everybody gets to interact with, and you get to kind of see how they would interact with this dog, right? So then you have the rest of the alien fleet that comes in. So the first group that comes in is these two, and they're called Nenlar. And I won't be able to describe all of them because there were so many different, and again, she went ham. It's not just like humanoid with nose ridge, humanoid with face ridge, just very different kind of beings, right? And that's the advantage of a book, because you can write this stuff, you can imagine it, and you don't have to, actually make it up. So anyway, the Nenlar are kind of the first part of the fleet. There are just two, Tarar and Ara, and they tell their story, basically their planet, which was kind of devastated. They escaped it, and then they found this portal, they went through it, and they were devastated by this race called the Ayudka. And the Ayudka apparently, hundreds, thousands of years ago, kind of terrorized that section of the galaxy, took what they wanted, did what they wanted, and kind of made a pretty bad name for themselves there. So not long after, of course, the Nenlar come in, the Ayudka come in too. So many other ships, I won't be able to name all of them, but a Hirogen ship comes in. These wicked Tedonians that I talked about come in. The teddy bear people, the Kuluk, come in. A race called the Salamar, and many, many, many more, right? And those are just kind of like the main ones that are involved in the story. So anyway, they have all these ships come in. They agree to do this fleet and to travel through this part of space together. And you have just kind of these very interesting diplomatic scenes during that point where Janeway's having dinners with the different captains. You get to see and hear like different stories, different versions of what these people's histories are kind of telling. And particularly, I did like the Hirogen in this, who maybe were played out initially to be the bad guy, but don't even end up that way, which I thought was cool. So yeah, going forward as they move towards deeper and deeper into this section of space, they come to this nebula that they can't go around at this point. They have to go through, so they have to arrange this perfect order in which to go through the nebula, right? And if they do this, this will be the best way to do it without anyone getting lost. And the Voyager will go through first. They'll be dropping buoys so that if anyone does get lost, they'll be able to find the buoys and get out, right? Chakotay and other members of the Voyager crew have kind of like been sent off to help other ships. Chakotay in particular, they have a nice little scene where he is helping this non-humanoid alien group, where it's basically like just like a floating ball with like tentacles that pop out, and they're very traditional people, so Chakotay is kind of helping them with their trouble getting through this issue, and it just gives you like another look into more and more of these just out there kind of species, so anyway, they get in line, they get ready to go through. Again, Voyager goes first, and then just a little bit after Voyager goes through, everybody kind of starts breaking the rules. I think it starts with the Herogen, then the Tedonians, the Salamar, and everybody starts breaking the line, cutting the line. Respect the line. Nothing is worse than a line cutter, right? Don't cut in line. Anyway, they cut in line, they bust in there, into the nebula, and of course, it causes a lot of trouble. So, in the nebula, they're coming out in the wrong order, and they're going people are getting lost. When Voyager gets to the other side, they're waiting and waiting and waiting. Finally, the ships start coming through, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of ships at once that were all kind of racing through to beat the line. But then they start losing some ships. So then they have to wait. Some of them come through. They have to go back and look. And unfortunately, what they find, Tom and Tuvok, I think, go in the Delta Flyer. And they go back and they find that the Kuluk ship with the green little teddy bear people is kind of floating dead in space. And then when they beam over, they find all of the Kuluk dead of fright. However, upon closer examination, the captain of the vessel had his neck broken. So, a mystery made to look like they died of fright actually were murdered. So now you have the murder mystery section of the book. They tow it back out there. They kind of keep things under wraps too. They don't tell everyone else in the fleet what happened because they don't want to give anything away yet. They want to kind of keep this under their hat so that they can track down and find the killer, right? So Tuvok does his best to go over there, goes over the whole place, centimeter by centimeter, scanning everything to check it out, see what's going on. And when he does that, he finds another body, a Kuluk who has had his skeleton fully removed, Predator style. Well, Herogen style, right? So now it's an obvious pointing at the Herogen is doing this. But Tuvok and Janeway, they know the Herogen a little bit better than that. And a race of teddy bear people that die of fright when they get scared is not adequate prey for them. So they obviously know that someone is setting up the Herogen. So now they press on further into the mystery to see if they can't figure out what's really going on. On the Tedonian ship, I've neglected this side story, the Tedonians are real jerks. They run their ship with basically through slavery. They have humans to do all of the dirty work. Not humans, but humanoids. I think they're purple people, to do all the dirty work for them, right? And they treat them terribly. They don't feed them enough. They don't treat their injuries. And when they die, they leave them to rot and beam them into space, basically, and then bring in more slaves. But now that they're lost in this other section of space, they can't just bring in more slaves. So the Tedonians have a little bit of an issue, right? Captain of the Tedonians, Arkathi, needs help, needs medical attention, so they arrange that with the Voyager. Now the Voyager just doesn't want to send them over because they know kind of what's going on there. So they agree to send Seven and the Doctor to give them rations and medical supplies, but only if they'll do it to the Tedonians, and then the lights went out. One moment. Their slaves, the Vana, right? So they treat the Tedonians, who are all very well cared for, and then the Vana shuffle in, and then this is when Seven's part in the story kind of comes in. She's takes kind of a liking to the leader of the Vana, Marisha, and they kind of talk, and she gets to know more about their situation, and then kind of convinces her that they need to take action. Like, this is not right. Almost, the parallels with her being a drone without, she is a slave. So, yeah, that interesting little side story there where she kind of, inspires Marisha to rebel, and that is what they do. So the Vana rebel, they escape, and in doing so, they're taken in by Voyager. The captain of the Tedonians, Arkathi, claims that they did this in a bloody coup where they killed 15 people and they killed some of their own people, and he demands justice and demands them back. Janeway's like, nope, not going to give them up yet. And they look closer into the situation. And what do they find when Tuvok really puts his Vulcan logic and deduction into this? Is they find that the Tedonians are the actual perpetrators of the whole thing. I forgot to mention this too. Every now and then during this book, you get a look at another species of aliens called the Ones Who Will Not Be Named. And they are basically cloaked and kind of watching from the outside. They have very good technology. They can kind of see everything that's going on, but choose to remain hidden because that's their way, right? But they've seen everything now. They've seen the murder. They know what's going on. And they argue amongst themselves if they should do anything, if they shouldn't do anything. And as they get closer to the book, when basically Tuvok has already revealed everything, they come in with all the proof, basically saying, we saw the whole thing. The Tedonians attacked the Kalukian, made it look like the Herogen were doing it, and then took all their stuff because they needed more supplies, basically. And that was the whole problem there. So they worked that out. The Tedonians actually fire on Voyager, which is one of the little bits of kind of space action you get there. And they get like a little bit of back and forth action there. Arkathi escapes into an escape pod and gets away. And you kind of don't know what happens to him after that. The remaining Tedonians are willing to work with the Vana and not, treat them like slaves, of course. Because it turned out that Arkathi basically arranged the whole thing as a cover-up, including killing his own people, to do that, the people that didn't quite agree with how he was doing things, how he was treating these people. So they're out of the nebula. They've lost the Kuluk, right? They've lost Arkathi or whatever. Now the problem is multiple ships are being drained of power by these gateways, right? And at first it starts with just a couple, but then more and more ships are being drained. They realize they've got to do something. They set a course for this M-class planet that's close by, and that's when they pick up another gateway on that planet. Now that gateway on the planet carries the same signature as the one that the fluffy Barkley dog fell out of, right? So now everything's kind of come full circle, and Janeway knows what she has to do. She feels that she has to take that fluffy Barkley dog and take him back through that portal. And then on the other side of that portal, she's going to find the mystery to figure out why the power is being drained, what is going on, what's happening with everything. And that's basically the end of the book. And I'm not going to get to know what happens until we get into that. So, what did I miss? I probably missed a lot of stuff. Lots of great Tuvok in here. Janeway was the star, of course. A little bit of Seven, a little bit of the Doc. Neelix, he didn't get very much to do, unfortunately. I'd like to read a very Neelix-centric Voyager book, if there is such a thing. If you guys know of such a thing, let me know, because that's something I would like. Detective Tuvok, again, I said that already. It was good. It was just, again, I enjoy when they go and they create an alien species that's something that you really couldn't do on the TV very well. That's just the advantage of doing this in print, right? Because you can do it and you can imagine it, and it's awesome. And that's just one of the things that she does so well in this book, and one of the things that I liked about it the most was just the variety, the wide variety that we had of different fun species. So, what a blast. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Christie Golden's No Man's Land. Very wonderful Voyager book. Fine addition to the Gateway saga. But now I am on to book 6 of 7, which is the New Frontiers edition. Now, I'm going to be jumping right into New Frontiers, and it's probably going to be like right into the middle of it, and I've never read a thing, don't know anything about it, so this is definitely going to be interesting. So I hope that it is as good as the Challenger one was. The Challenger one, again, I jumped right into the middle of that kind of series, didn't know anything about it. It was just so good. So we'll see what they do, we'll see what direction they go, and If I could pull it out right now for you, I would, actually. But, gotta find it. I don't know where it is. We'll find it later. We'll start reading it, and we'll be back to talk about it soon. As always, everybody, thanks for hanging out, listening to me talk about this Star Trek book for 25 minutes and 9 seconds. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you guys in the next one.